We like to think of heroes and villains as opposites, light and dark, order and chaos. But in the world of Jujutsu Kaisen, Gege Akutami suggests something much more terrifying. They are just two sides of the same biological coin. From the moment they met, Mahito made a claim that felt like a sick joke. I am you. At the time, Yuji rejected it with every fiber of his being. He was a human, Mahito was a monster. He saved, Mahito killed. But by the end of the Shibuya incident, the joke wasn't funny anymore. Because Mahito wasn't just taunting Yuji, he was diagnosing him. Why was Mahito right about Yuji? Yuji's entire world was built on a why. Why do we save people? Because they deserve a proper death. Why do we fight? Because it's the right thing to do. Mahito's existence is the antithesis of why. He kills because it's his nature. He is a curse born from the hatred humans feel for one another. He doesn't need a reason to kill, any more than a human needs a reason to breathe. Mahito's first great lesson to Yuji was that meaning is a human construct. When Mahito transfigured Junpei, he wasn't just killing a student, he was killing Yuji's belief that the world is fair. He was forcing Yuji to realize that in the eyes of a curse, a human is just meat and souls. This is where the script flips. In the snowy streets of Shibuya, after losing Nanami and Nobara, Yuji stops asking why. He stops trying to justify his actions with morality. He looks at Mahito and says, I'm you. This is the moment Mahito won. He successfully stripped Yuji of his humanity and reduced him to function. Mahito kills because he is a curse. Yuji kills because he is a sorcerer. Neither of them is doing it for justice, they are doing it because that is what they are. Mahito was right. They are both just organisms fulfilling their roles. The wolf doesn't hate the rabbit, and the rabbit doesn't sin by running. They just exist in a cycle of consumption. Mahito argued that the soul is just a thing to be shaped. By the end of their battle, Yuji's soul had been shaped into a cog. A cog doesn't have a choice. A cog doesn't have a proper death. It just spins until it breaks and is replaced. This is the ultimate victory for Mahito's philosophy. By accepting the cog mentality, Yuji admitted that he is no longer an individual with a destiny. He is a tool. He became exactly what Mahito said he was, a mirror image of a curse, a force of nature that exists only to erase another force of nature. If Yuji had remained the hero of episode 1, he would have died in Shibuya. To defeat Mahito, he had to become Mahito. He had to abandon the human need for meaning and embrace the cold, instinctual drive of a killer. Mahito was right because he saw through the mask of the good kid. He saw that deep down Yuji was a vessel for the most powerful curse in history, and that to survive, Yuji would have to become just as hollow and functional as the monsters he hunted. Yuji won the fight, but he lost the argument. He survived, but the version of him that wanted to save everyone died in that basement with Junpei. And yet, that isn't the end of the story. Because what makes Jujutsu Kaisen so unsettling isn't just that Mahito might be right. It's that the story refuses to let that truth sit comfortably. Because if Yuji is just a cog, why does it hurt so much? Even after accepting his role, Yuji doesn't become numb in the way Mahito predicts. A true curse, a true force of nature, doesn't grieve. It doesn't hesitate. It doesn't break down when faced with the weight of its actions. But Yuji does, all the time. That's the contradiction. Mahito's philosophy is clean, efficient, and terrifyingly logical. Life is function. Souls are malleable. Meaning is irrelevant. But Yuji is proof that even if you reduce a person to a role, something messy and human still bleeds through the cracks. When Yuji calls himself a cog, it isn't a declaration of peace, it's a coping mechanism. It's the only way he can continue moving forward without collapsing under the guilt of every life he couldn't save. By stripping away why, he isn't evolving, he's surviving. And that distinction matters, because Mahito's worldview only works if you fully commit to it. Mahito doesn't question himself. He doesn't lie awake at night wondering if what he's doing is wrong. He can't. He is perfectly aligned with his nature. Yuji isn't. Even at his lowest point, even after Shibuya has broken him down to his core, Yuji's pain proves that he hasn't truly become Mahito. He's imitating him, wearing his philosophy like armor. But armor is something you put on, it's not what you are. And this is where Mahito's diagnosis starts to fall apart. Because if Yuji were truly the same as Mahito, If he were just another organism fulfilling a role, then there would be no internal conflict, no hesitation, no suffering. The wolf doesn't mourn the rabbit, but Yuji mourns everyone. That grief is the one thing Mahito can never understand. It's also the one thing that proves Yuji isn't just a cog. The tragedy is that Yuji believes Mahito was right. He accepts the idea that he's nothing more than a tool because it gives him permission to keep going. If he's just a cog, then the deaths aren't his fault. They're just part of the mechanism. But the story subtly challenges that belief. And Yuji, despite everything, keeps choosing. He chooses to keep fighting, even when he wants to die. He chooses to carry the burden of Sukuna's destruction. He chooses to keep saving people, even after abandoning the idea of saving everyone. Those choices may feel small, even meaningless in the grand scheme of things, but they are fundamentally human. They are acts of defiance against the very idea that he is nothing more than a function. Mahito sees existence as a closed system. Curses kill humans, sorcerers kill curses, and the cycle continues without meaning. Yuji disrupts that system, not by rejecting it outright, but by suffering within it. And suffering in this context is important, because suffering implies awareness. It implies that somewhere deep down, Yuji still believes things should be different, even if he can't articulate why anymore. Mahito doesn't suffer, he enjoys. That's the difference between them. So when Yuji says "I'm you," it isn't a complete surrender, it's a moment of despair. A moment where he abandons the fight for meaning because the alternative is too painful to bear. But despair isn't the same as truth. Mahito was right in one sense. Yuji had to let go of his naive heroism to survive. The world of jujutsu doesn't reward idealism, it crushes it. And the boy who wanted to give everyone a proper death simply couldn't exist in a place like Shibuya. But Mahito was wrong in a deeper, more important way. Yuji didn't become a curse. He became something far more complicated, a human being forced to act like one. And that's what makes his journey so disturbing, because it asks a question with no easy answer. If you're forced to abandon your humanity to survive, are you still human, or are you just pretending to be? Yuji exists in that in-between space, not a hero, not a monster, but something unresolved, something unstable, a person trying to reconcile instinct with morality, function with meaning. And maybe that's the real horror Gege Akutami is pointing at. Not that heroes and villains are the same, but that under enough pressure, the line between them doesn't disappear. It blurs, it flickers, it becomes something you can cross without even realizing it.